My name is Lindsay Clemens, and my lovely assistant behind the camera is Macy Harold, and we are here today to talk to you about how to make chocolate chip cookies. I know most of you have probably eaten one or two in your life at the very least, but some of you may not know how to make them. Our first step here is to wash our hands before we do anything else. And then our next step is to take out our equipment and our ingredients. Our equipment includes 2 bowls. We need a large bowl and we need a smaller bowl. The large bowl is where all of our ingredients are going to eventually end up. Then we're going to need a whisk and 2 or 3 different spoons. And then we are going to need a few different sizes of measuring cups. We're going to need one that holds 4 cups or 3 cups, depending on what you have. Then we're going to need one that holds 2 cups, and then we're going to need one that holds 1 or 3/4 of a cup. And then after that, our last piece of equipment is a single teaspoon. And our ingredients include brown sugar and granulated sugar. We're going to need all-purpose flour, and we're going to need some vanilla extract, some salt of any baking variety. Then we're going to need a cup of butter and some baking powder. Our first step is to take our small bowl where we're going to pour our all-purpose flour. After that, we're going to put our baking soda and our salt. And then we're going to mix that all together with a spoon. And we need to make sure that all of the flour and the salt and the baking powder are together so that you can't tell any difference between them. So like this, make sure it's all fluffy. Our next step is to take our large bowl and we will put our cup of butter. Make sure that the butter is softened. So that means you leave it out overnight or put it in the microwave for 10 seconds. Okay, so we have our cup of butter. Next we're going to need to add our 3/4 cup of granulated sugar and our 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And then we have our tablespoon of vanilla extract. We're going to mix this all together with our whisk. And this is our final consistency of the mixture. We're going to try to get as few chunks of sugar as possible. You can see that there are a few brown sugar chunks, but not enough to make any sort of a difference. And the next steps will be performed by Macy Harold.
Okay, so I've already washed my hands, they're clean. After we mix the sugars and the butter in, we're going to add the eggs. The recipe calls for 2 eggs, but they want us to add 1 at a time and then mix it. So we're just going to crack them in here. And then we're going to mix it. So the egg is going to make the mixture creamier. It's going to seem like a lot, and it's going to look like it's making the dough a little bit watery. But that's good because not all of the dry ingredients have been added in yet. Okay, so after you mix the 1 egg in, you're going to add the other. Okay, once you add the 2nd egg in, you're just going to mix again. It's going to be pretty watery, and that's good. You want it like this consistency because we haven't added the flour yet, and the flour is what is going to make it thick. Okay, this is what your mixture is going to look like after you've added both of the eggs in. So, once you've done that, you're going to want to gradually add the flour mixture into your cookie dough. Don't add it all at once or it's going to be too thick for you to mix. So, about 1/3 of it is how much I put in. And then you're just going to combine that. So, as you can see, the cookie dough mixture is getting quite a bit thicker. It's sticking together better, and it's going to look like cookie dough with the more flour that you add. the cookie dough is going to get harder and harder to stir the more that you mix it. It's going to take some time. This is the cookie dough with all the flour in. You want to kind of roll it around so that you get all of the flour mixture, even the stuff on the bottom. Mix it all in evenly. It's going to be really thick when you mix all the flour in. That's good. Okay, so it looks like it's just about mixed all the way. If you can see the consistency, it's pretty squishy and it sticks onto your hands. That's good. You don't want it to be dry. That means you've added too much flour. But if it's too wet, you can always add more. You want it to be like this. So, once you've done that, your last ingredient to add is the chocolate chips. The recipe calls for 2 cups of chocolate chips. You can dump them all in there at once. And if you really want a lot of chocolate in your chocolate chips, or in your chocolate chip cookies, you can add more chocolate chips or less if you like the actual cookie more than you do the chocolate. So this is what your cookie dough is going to look like after it's all mixed in. So, now that's done, we're going to put it on this pan. This is parchment paper so that your cookies don't stick to the pan. And this pan, if you can tell, is a little bit larger than a normal sized baking pan. Usually you can fit 12 cookies on a baking pan. This one is probably going to fit a little bit more. It doesn't really matter what size pan you use. And you can just estimate the size of cookie that you want. We're going to do about this much cookie dough for each cookie. And you want them to be slightly brown, but they don't have to be perfect. So just do, this much and put them about an inch apart. You don't want them right next to each other because then they'll just grow together into one giant cookie, and that's not good. Okay, so this is what the cookies look like when I put them on the tray. There is about an inch of space in between each one so they don't stick together. The oven is preheated to 375. So we're just going to stick the cookies in there, and the recipe says for 9 to 11 minutes. You want them cooked until they're golden brown. So we're going to set the timer for 9 minutes and we'll check them then. If they're done, we'll take them out and cool. If not, we can put them in there for any amount of time that you want. If you like burnt cookies or less done cookies, it's really up to you. My lovely assistant, Lindsay, will be taking the cookies out and cooling them to show you our finished product when they are done cooking.
Alright, so our cookies have been in the oven for our 9 to 11 minutes, and they are now done. So we will take our gloves here. You don't have to have gloves, but I like to just for safety. And we open up the oven here and take out our cookies. Then we will take any utensil that you have handy. Spatulas work well, and we will place all of our cookies on our cooling rack and wait for them to cool down for about 2 minutes, and then they are ready to eat. And here is our final product. Here's our first batch of 16 cookies. It makes 5 dozen on the recipe, but it can make more and less depending on whether you make bigger or smaller cookies. This has been our how-to on how to make chocolate chip cookies.